3 viewers. Okay, let me see. Is there a chat function? Cancel that. Let's try this chat. Group chat. Hey, folks, let's see if that works. Anybody able to see the chat there? 5 viewers. Open the chat log if you can and see if you can view the chat, please. Anything? All right. Are you guys, I see 7 viewers here, but is there, can you enter anything in a chat of any type? It's not working for you, Evan. Okay. Let's see if this does anything. Okay. I'm going to try one more thing here. All right, hang tight. Okay. Review. Next. Okay. Okay, it's public. Viewers waiting. Share. Let's try this. Copy. Go live. All right, sending a new link. Okay, chat working now. All right, if this doesn't work, I have an idea. You can ask me questions on the Remind app, and then I can answer them using the Remind app. Okay, Liz can say something. Great, you guys can post in the chat. All right, cool. So we don't have to do that. That's awesome. Fantastic. All right. All right, we got it working. That's good. All right, if you hear, try posting in the chat. Liz was able to post something, so I'm thinking that we can now. Liz, how were you able to post stuff? Geraldo can too. Good. Okay, it seems like we're good to go. Awesome. All right, well then I'll just wait until you guys are, there's a section called comments. Yes, okay, good. We're good. Quinn's here. Awesome. Good. So I guess we can start right now. If you guys have questions specifically that you want me to go over, things that you're like, this I'm the least good on. Wow, my hair is really thin. I never get a chance to see it. That's bad. Anyways. Okay. So start asking. I can even show the whiteboard. So I can even draw stuff on there. That's cool. Yeah, that's a good place to start, Liz, as any. Sure. Formulas. So remember, the formulas for the reactions that we've been looking at, photosynthesis and cellular respiration, have two sides. They have the reactants side. They have the products side, right? So you've got your reactants. Is that backwards? That looks backwards to me. The equations, okay. Yeah, so let's start with the reactants and products. So it looks like things are backwards, but we'll make it work. No big deal. I don't think there's a way to flip that. So, you know, we'll be able to get it. Oh, you guys can see reactants isn't spelled backwards or anything? That must just be me. Cool. All right. It's not backwards. Good. That's awesome. So let's start with photosynthesis then. So the formulas are essentially reactants, what goes in, and products, what comes out, right? So in photosynthesis, we're dealing with plants. Plants need stuff to go in, and as a result, plants make stuff go out, right? So think about a plant and think about what are the things that a plant needs on a daily basis. So Liz, what are some things that the plants are going to take in order to do their photosynthetic stuff? Give me some chemicals that plants need. You have a plant, how do you keep it alive? Carbon dioxide, right? Liz says, do they need carbon? Yes, they need carbon, but in a special form, carbon dioxide. Plants need CO2. And as, let me see, Meow Random TFC told us, you also need to water your plants, right? So plants need these two things, carbon dioxide and water. And if you give them this other thing, okay, Evan, that's cool. What else do plants have to have in order to like turn on and work? You got to give them CO2, you got to give them water, but they also need this other crucial thing. It's the photo in photosynthesis. The sunlight, right? Plants also need sunlight. If you don't give them sunlight, they will wither and die. So in the presence of sunlight, right, there's the sun. So plants need these things to go in. And with sunlight, CO2, and H2O, they make some stuff. Liz, what do plants make? Why are we like, plants are awesome. What are they making? Good job, Lindsay. Yep. What are the plants making as a result? Glucose and oxygen, right? So plants make our oxygen in the air that we breathe. They take in our CO2 that we breathe out. We breathe in their oxygen. Good. And they make this other thing, glucose. Food, sugar. When you're eating an apple, that sweetness that you're tasting, that's the sugar that they're making, right? Hi, Lily. Meow random TFC. Lily, good to know. Okay. Yeah, there's the formula for photosynthesis, right? So the easiest way to recognize that you're looking at photosynthesis and not cellular respiration is that sunlight's there. And also, you don't breathe in CO2, right? You breathe it out. Since CO2 is on the reactant side, it's got to be photosynthesis. If the CO2 were over here, you know you'd be looking at cellular respiration. Hi. Okay. You want to do the formula for cellular respiration? Are you guys good on photosynthesis? You good? Yeah, you can move on. Yeah, and I'll post the answers on the study guide. I'll take a picture of them. I have them here, and I'll post them for you. All right. So let's do cellular respiration then. All right, so for cellular respiration, just like in, I'll tell you that, Lily. Let's do the formulas first. That's the very kind of basics, and then we can talk about the more specific stuff. So, see you later, Logan. Hi, Grajas. Cellular respiration, like photosynthesis, you need stuff to go into your body to keep you alive, and as a result, you make stuff that you don't need, and some stuff that you do need, right? So in cellular respiration, what are some things you're putting in your body to keep you alive every day? I think there's some latency. I think there's some lag. You need food, yes. And you do technically need water. Now, Gurjas, do you need CO2? I don't think so. You make CO2, but you don't need it. You got to get rid of it, actually. But you do need oxygen. Yes, Amanda. Yes, Quinn. You need oxygen and you need food. Liz, technically you need water, but it's not to make energy. Water is just, it allows for so many things to happen, but not really energy production. Yes, food in the form of glucose. So the things that are going to go in is the air that you breathe and the food that you eat, right? Air that you breathe and food that you eat, O2 and glucose. Now, the things that you make as a result, you take those two ingredients and you blast them apart, combine them, and what do you get? What's a waste product that we make, or two waste products, and what's the thing we actually want? Yeah, you make carbon dioxide. That you don't want, right? You got to get rid of that. CO2, you got to breathe out. ATP, Lily, good. That's the stuff you want. That's the whole reason we're doing this, right? There are two things that you're like, meh, I don't really need these. And one thing that your body is like, yes, that's why we're doing it. And that's the ATP. Good job, Ann. That's the other waste. Water is the thing that we make, and we're like, yeah, water's good, but it's not why I'm doing this. The 36 ATP, however, is the whole reason why we're doing it. Yeah, Lily, good job. Okay, so there's cellular respiration. Now we've got photosynthesis, we've got cellular respiration. Let's put them together, one above the other. So this is cellular respiration right here. And we can do photosynthesis up here. And that's boom plus boom, and the presence of boom gives us boom plus boom. You know, that's O2, glucose, taking CO2, H2O. Okay. So if we look at those formulas, you can see that the things you need in photosynthesis were the things you made in cell respiration. And the things you made in photosynthesis are the things you need in cellular respiration, right? Plants and animals, as we talked about in class, are intertwined, right? We make the things the other needs. But remember, plants can do both of these on their own. They don't technically need us. We help because we make more CO2 than they can. And so we give them more of that thing that they need. A to Z lifting. Hello. I don't know who A to Z lifting is, but I am good. Does that make sense, Liz? I'm glad that helped. I really am. That's good. So what else did we want to talk about? Lily asked about the ETC specifically, right? What about the ETC? Lily, what did you want to know specifically about the ETC? What was it you were hoping to find out? The electron transport chain, yeah. So the electron transport chain, Lily, what is the definition? Yes, Amanda, I can definitely do that. Lily, the definition of the electron transport chain is basically, I mean, if I technically define it for you, it would be more confusing than how you already feel. So I'm going to try to simplify it the most I can. And that is the electron transport chain essentially is a sequence of steps that occur in the inner membrane of a mitochondria where electrons are being passed around and shuttled out from one side to another that generates the most amount of ATP because oxygen is present. So it's not a really good technical definition by any means, but it's essentially a complicated sequence that occurs in the mitochondrial membrane that creates the most ATP because oxygen is present. Do the school accounts really block out comments and live chats, really? Huh. Well, that's good to know. I'll have to, that's something they should probably change. I'll talk to the head tech guy. Okay. So you guys had to use your personal accounts. All right. I'll talk to the head tech guy and make sure he knows that this is something we use. They really, yeah, they're pretty uptight about the security stuff. But I'll see what I can get. I've gotten them to change a couple things. I'll see if I can get them to change this too. Especially when they see that we can do this on snow days. They're going to be like, oh, that's a great idea. So, right, we wanted to talk about the factors that affect the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, so essentially, the easiest way to identify the factors that can affect photosynthesis is by looking at the reactants in the photosynthesis equation, meaning the things that you're putting in, right? So think about building a car. And let's say cars need nuts, bolts, and they need metal, right? Nuts, bolts, and metal. And what you get from that is a car. What are some things I could do to increase the amount of cars that I can make? Well, I can't increase the amount of cars. I have to increase the things on the other side, right? So if we look at the reactant side, here's the cheat. If we look at the reactant side of the formula, right there, any of those three things, if you change them, will affect the rate of photosynthesis. So what are those three things you can change to affect the rate of photosynthesis? Yes, CO2. Remember, if I breathe more on my plants, if I sing to them, they're going to do photosynthesis faster, right? So if I give them more of that thing, you're right, Amanda, temperature isn't up there, but things generally go faster when it's warm. And Team Cure, whoever that is, yes. I could also water them more. I could change the amount of sunlight. I could also change the color of light that they're getting, right? Anything on the reactant side is a factor that will affect the rate of photosynthesis. If I stop giving my plants sunlight, photosynthesis is going to drop. If I stop watering them, photosynthesis is going to drop. If I stop giving them CO2, photosynthesis is going to go down. There's going to be 20 questions, Gurjas. Hey, Lindsay. 20 questions. Multiple choice, all online. Some key things that I want you guys to be able to know and do for tomorrow's quiz are the following. Anaerobic and aerobic respiration. They each are, those words mean something is either there or not there. Anaerobic means that there's, what does that mean? Hashtag birds aren't real. Is that a Jaden Smith reference? Yeah, and anaerobic is without oxygen. So in anaerobic, there is no O2. Good. Anaerobic is no O2. And aerobic is what? Means you have O2. So if you're doing good, yeah, if you're doing anaerobic, you have no oxygen, which means you're going to go from glycolysis and do what? What do you do if there's no oxygen? And Lily, it's not blood cells, it's muscle cells. Evan, I will address that in just a moment. So yeah, Lily, it's the muscle cells that do that. Yeah. So what's the word for this process without oxygen? What are you doing here? Yeah. Cells turn to fermentation. Good. So with no oxygen, we move to fermentation. Right? And fermentation has two forms. There's two different types of fermentation that you can do. There's the type we do, and there's the type that our little yeast friends do that, you know, help us adults have fun on the weekend. that you guys shouldn't know about yet. You're too young. So what are the two types of fermentation? Good. Yep. Lactic acid is what we do. You're right, Amanda. We don't make alcohol. That's good that we don't make alcohol. That'd be a disaster, right? So there's the lactic acid fermentation. And there's alcoholic. Lactic acid and alcoholic fermentations, right? Good. We do lactic acid, yeast do alcoholic. Lactic acid is what makes you feel sore after working out, right? Okay. But if there is O2, you do cellular respiration. And cellular respiration happens in three steps, right? So the three steps are going to be what? First step, second step, third step. Good. Glycolysis is first. Good. Krebs cycle is next. Good job, Amanda. Yep. And the ETC is last. Yes. Good. ETC. And each makes a certain amount of ATP. So glycolysis, first step, makes much ATP. Yeah. Good. 2 there. And then how much in the Krebs cycle? Yep. Mia got it. Another 2. And then the ETC, another 32, right? For a total of 36 ATP. So 1 glucose, if oxygen is present, 1 glucose can go through all 3 steps, resulting in 36 ATP. So let me ask you guys a challenge question. I'm going to ask you a challenge question. Here we go. You ready? Let's say I give a cell 5 molecules of glucose. I give it 5 glucose molecules. And let's say there's no oxygen present. So I have a cell, I'm giving it 5 glucose molecules, and it doesn't have any oxygen. How much ATP is it going to make from those 5 glucose molecules? Yeah, Mia. Yeah. Because, as Mia said, you'd get 10. If with 1 glucose, I get to do each of these one time to make 36 ATP, these 2 happen only if oxygen is there. Good point, Mia. Technically, you make 20, but you needed to use 10 to make the 20. Right. Good. Good. So since oxygen, I said, is not there, there's no oxygen, I can only do glycolysis. And every 1 glucose molecule I ingest releases 2 ATP through glycolysis. So if I have 5 glucose molecules and I get 2 per glucose molecule, that means that I can make 10 ATP with that 5 glucose. But think about how much ATP I'm missing out on because I have no oxygen, right? What would 5 be? 5 glucose molecules with oxygen makes how much ATP? you have a calculator handy, you can figure that out, right? So this is why you prefer cellular respiration over fermentation. Because if you can do cellular respiration, you can make so much energy compared to if there's no oxygen there. Right. Thank you, Mia, for doing that math. 180. Right? So that means with oxygen, I can take 5 glucose molecules and release 180 ATP. But if there's no oxygen, I can make 10. Yeah, Lindsay, 36 ATP is how much energy you can get out of a glucose molecule if you do all 3 steps. But you can only do all 3 steps if there's oxygen, which is why cellular respiration is the energy production of choice, right? 36 is a magic number because that means oxygen's there and you're making the most energy you possibly could, right? Good. All right. Now, Evan asked, what's the difference between ATP and ADP? Well, let's go over that. Also, this is going to be saved to my Google account. So if you guys want to watch this again later, just to kind of go over specific points, you're totally welcome to do that. It'll be there. So I don't feel bad about erasing because you can watch it again, rewind as much as you want. Okay, so ADP and ATP. That little symbol in the top screen of your cell phone, right? The thing that you dread when it starts to get low because you guys are always doing the Snapchat and tweeting and doing the pick stitch and whatever it is you waste your battery on, Fortnite, right? This little symbol here represents your battery life. A full battery, Eben, a full battery is ATP, right? But as you use your phone for that stupid stuff that you use it for, you start to lose charge. Yeah. And this uncharged battery, Evan, that's ADP. So cellular respiration, the point of cellular respiration is to take ADP and recharge it into ATP. Simply put. And you're right, Mia, mitochondria are the charger for this. Mitochondria are the ones that take this uncharged battery and recharge it into ATP. Now, to be a little more specific, because an ATP molecule isn't a battery, that's an analogy. An ATP molecule is an adenosine triphosphate compound, which is something that has a base. I'm oversimplifying the base as well. It doesn't look like that, but the base actually looks more like this. That's really more what it looks like. Actually, be more correct. I think it's technically like this. All right, there's your ATP, generally, all right? So, yeah. Yes, ADP does still hold energy, Evan. It's not something we talked about, but ADP technically is still an energy molecule. But it's just harder to break that bond between the first and second ADP. This bond right here can be broken, but it's not easy to do. It takes more energy to break it than you get out by breaking it. So it's really not worth the time of the cell to do that. However, here, right there, that bond there's a lot of energy there, and it's really unstable, which means it's easy to break this bond. And by doing so, you get a lot of ATP, you get a lot of energy out. How do you remember the house thing and what it is? Well, that's an interesting question. How do you remember that? Well, we've learned about carbohydrates in the past, and you know that carbohydrates, generally speaking, are like a stop sign house-shaped object. So for the house-shaped object, if you see the word ribose, since it has ose, O-S-E, O-S-E means what? No, you do not need to know what NADPH or NADH is on the quiz, Mia. So in order to get the energy out of ATP, I have to snap that last phosphate. I have to cut that last phosphate off. And when I do that, out comes the energy. Correct me out. Ose means sugar. You know there's a base, you know there's a sugar, and you know there are 3 phosphates, right? If you see ose, that tells you it's a sugar. If it looks like a stop sign or a house, that means it's a sugar. But these guys look like stop signs too. So that rule doesn't really work here, right? Okay. So you've got your adenine base, you've got your sugar house, and you've got your 3 phosphates there. Oh, thank you. I was like, why are they saying bless you? You guys are weird. Because I sneezed. All right. Any other questions? The other things you guys need to make sure you look at are the diagram of the chloroplast, where the 2 reactions happen, the light-dependent and the light-independent reaction. I know we didn't go over it very long, but review your notes. Those guided notes that we took have all the information you're going to need on the quiz. I really didn't throw any curveballs at you. Lizzie, why do we do cellular respiration? Yeah, why do we eat food and breathe air? So that we can make something in our body. Yeah, we can do that. I'll erase this and I'll draw chloroplast on the board and we'll go over that because why not? That's worthwhile. Okay. Step 1. Step 2. You need things to go in here. Need stuff to go in there. You need stuff to go in here. As a result, you get stuff out there. You get stuff out there. Okay. So here's the hint for you guys. Any arrow that is going into the chloroplast Does that represent a reactant or a product? Any arrow that is pointing in towards, yeah, I know, I'm sorry, that's squeaking. I actually love that squeaking sound. It brings me great joy. So once again, any arrow that is pointing into the chloroplast, if it's coming in, is a reactant. Factories make products. Products come out of factories, right? Products or factories make products. Products come out. Factories need ingredients, reactants to enter them so they can make products, right? So any arrow that's pointing into the chloroplast is a reactant. It's something that this little chloroplast factory needs in order to make its products, right? So now we got to look. I see 3 arrows coming in, which means there are 3 reactants we talked about in photosynthesis, right? What do you think the orange squiggly line represents? That one's probably the easiest one to get. Orange squiggly line. Light, yes. Sunlight, there it is. The pee-pee poo-pee poo-poo man. That's adorable. Yep, you need light. Okay. There we go. I put the formula for photosynthesis up there again. We've got sun. So there's sun. There are 2 other things that are going to be coming into this chloroplast. The trick is understanding where they're coming in and what they are, right? So in step 1, this first reaction needs sunlight. So which of the 2 reactions in photosynthesis is happening here if the squiggly sunlight line is coming in? No, Mia, no. I didn't actually even really use that word Calvin cycle. Calvin cycle is just a fancier way of saying the second reaction. So do you need to define what the Calvin cycle is? Yes, but not called the Calvin cycle. Called the, no, not that one. What does the D in LDR stand for? This is a cycle, so right here is the Calvin cycle. But does the orange squiggly line point to the Calvin cycle? Does this cycle, do you see the squiggly sunlight pointing to that cycle? Is that dependent on sun? No. So this can't be the light dependent reaction. This has to be the light independent reaction, right? Because there's no sunlight there. It's not dependent on light. That Calvin cycle is also called the light independent reaction, the LIR, right? Yes, Ava, I'm going to post them after we finish here. No, Mrs. Brock, I have not eaten dinner yet, but that's fine. Then this is the sunlight strikes this thing here. If it needs sunlight, what is this right here? If the sunlight is required, what is that? If this is independent of light, this one must be what? Latency is killing me. Dependent, right? This one has to be the LDR because it's dependent on sunlight. You can see the sunlight coming in there, right? Okay. So we've got the two reactions. Now we just need to be able to say what ingredients are coming into each, right? And I'll give you a hint. The ingredient going into the light-dependent reaction is the one that the plants get from their roots, not from their leaves. What is this ingredient? The kittens are good. Just the one kitten. Don't have multiple kittens, but the kitten is good. Gets this ingredient. The light-dependent reaction gets the ingredient from its roots. What is the ingredient going into the light-dependent reaction? Anybody gets it from its roots? What do plants get from their roots? H2O. Yes. Yeah, I know. Don't worry. We're going to finish this up. We're going to finish coloring in this diagram. I'm going to post the pictures to Classroom, and then I'm going home and, you know. Okay. H2O. Water is the reactant going into this first step. When H2O goes here, sunlight splits it in half. So what ingredient comes out as a result of splitting water in half? When I take H2O and I pop it apart, what is something that's going to come out down here? A thing you really want to do cellular respiration with. Not chlorophyll. Chlorophyll isn't a reactant or a product. Chlorophyll is a thing that you do photosynthesis with. But O2 is coming from the water. If I take two water molecules and split them apart, I have two oxygens. I make oxygen gas. A product. A product came out, so we can put a product in there. A reactant went in, so we can put a reactant in there. Which means there's only two more possible things that you could use to fill in this diagram. The last reactant that comes into the light-independent reaction and the product that gets made as a result. What is the other reactant we're missing that's going to go in here? It's the last thing we're going to do. The last reactant and product. Help me out so I can go home. Send me home, children, please. Send me home. Matthew, plants don't breathe in oxygen. They made the oxygen. Oxygen coming in, oxygen is going out. But the CO2 gas that we breathe out, correct. That's the one. That's what we want, right? Plants want CO2. There's our last reactant. CO2, you pop the C's off, you pop the O's off. You still have the H's left behind from the water here. C's, H's, and O's can combine to make what thing down here? Send me home, children. I hunger. There it is. That's the stuff, glucose. C's, H's, and O's give me C6, H12, O6, which is a fancier way of saying glucose. The monosaccharide carbohydrate. Okay, there it is. We did it. There's the diagram, right? Remember that. I'm going to post the answers to the study guide, and then I'm going to go home. You guys have been great. I'm glad we figured this out. And real quick, give me a vote. Want to do this again? Was this helpful? Do it again? Or this was a waste of my time. I already knew this stuff. Lily, we've said it enough that, yeah, you should know that it's C6H12O6. You know that glucose and C6H12O6, those things should interchange, right? They mean the same thing. All right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, tell your friends next time because we only got, I think, between 13 and 19 peak. So, and the people who showed up, honestly, I think are the people who I'm like least worried about. So we got to get those people who don't normally come to things like this to come because they're the ones who are really going to benefit. I will. All right. Good stuff, guys. Look to the classroom in the next 5 minutes for the answers to the study guide and study hard. Make me proud tomorrow. Be masters of biology. Okay. Bye. Ugh.